Hello to everybody. First of all, I wanted to apologize for taking so long to get this video out to all of you. But honestly, after the conference, I needed to catch up on my own classes and my personal life, personal responsibilities, and then the holidays hit, and then the end of the semester. But now I finally have a free moment. And so here I am to finish up and to complete showing you the differences between synchronous and asynchronous classes on Canvas. The one good thing, however, is that in waiting, I have learned some new tricks. And one in particular, I learned just a few days ago, and I think many of you will find it very useful. So that is the reward for being patient. First of all, I want to let you know that I am using Screencast-O-Matic to make this video. Okay, during the conference, you all saw me through Zoom. Now you're going to see through Screencast-O-Matic. And I talked to you about Screencast-O-Matic. It's a wonderful program, app. It's not even an app, it's a website that is available. You could get a free membership, or you could pay for the premium membership. But there are some things. First of all, Screencast-O-Matic doesn't offer a virtual background like Zoom does. So instead of seeing the ocean, you get to see the Malala doll my daughter made in the 5th grade, and a picture of my beautiful mother and some more personal items. But it's not that big of a deal, at least not to me. You will see also, though, there are some nice tricks. For example, when I move the cursor, my mouse, around the Malala doll or around my mother's picture, you should be seeing a yellow highlighting. So that is one of the nice things about Screencast-O-Matic. Another nice thing is that you get the option of recording either your screen or your webcam or both. So for example, I right now am doing both, and at the moment you're getting to see me, but when I do this, I will disappear up into the right corner, and now you get to see my screen. So that's another nice feature. Also, and all of this is that summary I had provided to you before, and I'm going to send it out again because I've made some changes. All of this is what we went through together during the conference. And now we're here, part 2, lessons learned after the conference. So real quick, Screencast-O-Matic, it has some great tools. It's very easy to edit. You have the mouse highlighter. You can choose to show only your web camera, only your screen, or both. And if you click on this link, it'll take you out to Screencast-O-Matic. Okay, and one thing to notice is they have prices for individuals or for, por favor. Okay, I'll just leave it like that. One thing to notice is they have prices for individuals in business and for educators. So as a teacher, you could have a price break, I believe. I pay $48 a year. And with that, I get unlimited videos, meaning unlimited length. If you do the free version, your videos are limited to 15 minutes only. But even with the free version, I'm going to go to my content. Even with the free version, you get to store your videos on Screencast-O-Matic. And that's wonderful because that will save you space and memory in Canvas. The other nice thing is, so it will, you have options here. You can sort them by most recent. I prefer title, right? But you could also do duration, view count, last viewed, however, whatever you're looking for. And here you can see these give a little preview of the video, or as Karen had asked during the conference, I click here and it gives me a list view. I create my folders over here, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful way to create your videos. I have for grammar, for announcements, for reading assignments and essays, etc. It's a nice way to keep your videos organized because previously I was keeping my videos, I was using YouTube to make videos, but I found it difficult to organize my videos there. I like Screencast-O-Matic much, much better. And then that way, I simply give them a shareable link on Canvas and it takes them to Screencast and they can watch the video. So that is Screencast-O-Matic. Now we're going to go back to the My Practice, or the summary. So here, the really big takeaway from the conference. If you all recall, I had nothing but technical problems that day, especially because the Canvas course site was down for Cypress College, and that was the course site I needed for my asynchronous class. And so I couldn't share it with all of you. But since then, I found out that you can create your own personal Canvas course site on Instructure. So when you go to Instructure, right, here is Instructure, and you could try Canvas for free. You actually don't ever have to pay. I don't pay. I have a membership, and let's see. I'll go in, and you will see that it is just like the Canvas you have for your schools. The nice thing is why this is so important. This is especially good for adjunct instructors because if you ever stop working for a particular school, you no longer have access to that Canvas course site, to all the work you had created. This way, you will always have access. You also have access if, for example, there's the district's network is down or something, you will still have access. The other great thing about doing this is I now, because I'm adjunct, I work for Cypress and Orange Coast College, I used to have 2 course sites, and I'd have to update one and then copy over the information to the other. Now I have templates. So I have a Beginning Spanish 1 template, Beginning Spanish 2, Intermediate Spanish 1, Intermediate Spanish 2. And I'd say a good 90% of the information on my course sites is the same for both schools. Of course, there are some pages that are different, and I could save copies of that. That's not a problem. I have to change the dates and things like that and the services provided by the schools. But that's a very small change, and being able to update the majority of my course site for both simultaneously is wonderful. Also, when you do sign up for Instructure, they will give you automatically, you will get this course, your guided course template. And for those who are not very familiar with Canvas, it'll take you through how to build a module and all of that. I will also show you later, I have this one right here, enlaces, links, and I'll explain later on what this is about. For now, I want to go back here. So one thing, keep in mind that when you have your courses on Instructure, you could only do, I uploaded them from an export package. Typically, for one school, I will just copy over a course to the next semester. But this is not within that school, within that school's Canvas. So what you have to do is you have to create an export package and then upload that to your course site on Instructure. However, you're only allowed to have a maximum of 500 megabytes. That is what happened here with these enlaces. These are, it's a bunch of modules I have. I'll collapse them for you. These are websites. So this was miscellaneous websites, Argentina, Colombia, Cuba, Ecuador, España, etc., all the way down to Venezuela. And these are, I'm going to expand it, these are websites and links I have collected over the years for art, celebrations, food, the world, music, right? Argentina, I have empanadas, I have el mate, el tango argentino, etc. Well, because I was limited to only 500 megabytes, I had to delete a lot of items before I could create that export package. Otherwise, it was just too large. What I did is I took all of those modules from the enlaces and I created its own separate course site. And that saved me a lot of space. I also deleted all of my announcements and any unnecessary files, which, by the way, is a nice way to do a little cleanup, because a lot of times we just copy over, and then there's a lot of things in our course sites we don't use anymore. This will kind of force you to clean up your course sites. So there's that. This is what I had to do, right? I had to select which content was to be exported, no announcements, things like that. Also, another way to make it easier to keep it to 500 megabytes is store your videos on Screencast-O-Matic and use 3C Media. You could also store videos on 3C Media, because keep in mind, Canvas has very limited storage, and I keep getting announcements. I keep seeing announcements from both districts saying, delete your old files in Canvas, etc. So this is a great way to store content elsewhere. And in fact, I'm going to show you, this is the one I'm really excited about. I learned about this just a few days ago. These Google Collections is a great way to store content elsewhere, and I'll show you in just a moment. Now, the other thing I learned quite a bit after the conference was about closed captions. Now, first of all, we want to make our classes accessible to everybody, just because it's the right thing to do. But we are also legally bound, legally required to make our classes accessible. What that means is that any videos or PowerPoints, but I'm focusing right now on videos, any videos that you have that you are using to teach must have closed captions. Now, if you create a video as an announcement, I don't know why there's a loophole there, but if you create a video for an announcement, it doesn't require closed captions. But anything you use for teaching purposes does. And I discovered, well, first of all, right here, what Zoom provides, or YouTube, or even 3C Media, right? I send all of my videos to 3C Media for captioning. If you don't remember, 3C Media, they are provided by the California Community Colleges, okay? And you can create your own account with them. Just create a login and a password, and you could keep your videos here and provide links to your students. You could also use this to do your closed captioning. However, what I learned is that what they provide for us is not really captioning. It's sort of a blend between transcripts and captioning. It's a transcript because it's a written form of what is said verbally. And it's sort of captioning in the sense that it's broken out to be synchronized with your video. But it's not true captioning. True captioning is going to make the video accessible to everybody, including visually impaired, people who are visually impaired. And they might use a reader. So that reader has to read out what is happening visually. So it would describe the background, right? There's a Malala doll. There's a picture of a pretty lady. If I put my finger to my head to say like, oh, I'm thinking, it would describe that. If I cough, it describes that. So captioning's a lot more intense. Also because the transcripts that Zoom, 3C Media, YouTube, what they provide, there's no grammar in there. Right? You have to go back in and add punctuation, capitalization of the beginning of a sentence. You also, for proper captioning, if more than one person is speaking, you have to identify who's speaking. This is Adrian, this is Karen, this is Fabienne, right? If you suddenly switch languages, now it's Spanish. If the main language is English, you don't have to say English. But if you switch to another language, then you have to put in there Spanish. So I have been studying a bit about closed captioning. I've been watching closed captioning on TV programs, and I learned it's pretty tough. There's a lot to it, but now I've developed a new skill and it's wonderful. It took me, though, quite a while. In fact, for my presentation for the conference, just those 2 videos of the presentation was over 10 hours of editing. Part of that is because it was new for me and I was doing it over and over and over again. I'm sure I'll be faster in the future. But if you start to edit your own closed captioning, be prepared. It is a very time-consuming process. So, time-consuming process. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you is this Google Collections, but I'm actually going to show this to you when I demonstrate my 2 course sites. Down here, I just wrote out this, basically all of this information down here is what we went over during the conference, but I wrote it out a little bit so you would have a quick reference. You don't have to re-watch the videos over and over. I just wrote out a lot of the quick comparisons. All of this you could look at on your own. Right now, I'm going to finally take you to my synchronous and asynchronous classes. Now, I'm opening this up right now in Instructure. These are my templates. So we're going to take a look at the beginning Spanish. And I'm going to go ahead and switch it to student view. And I showed you this during the conference. My home page, it always shows the first 3 announcements. I have a picture of Parque Güell in Barcelona, my number 1 goal on my bucket list. Here is a little welcome, and I tell them, you know, if you're worried about taking Spanish online, it will still be rich and engaging. And I ask them to do their orientation. Here's some information, basic information about me, quick tidbit on my office hours, technical support, a little biography. Here's this presentation I do, how Spanish changed my life, and they have to watch this because it is the basis for the first discussion we have in class. Okay, so this is my homepage, and it's pretty much the same for both synchronous and asynchronous classes. I also showed the students, look, keep in mind, you've got your to-do list here. They could also open up the course calendar, and that will show them when assignments are due and what have you. They could view notifications. So this is a good way to open up the Canvas course site. Okay, then I have my announcements, syllabus, modules, discussions, people, grades, and these enlaces. I'll show you in a bit. So here, announcements, and, you know, blue, they haven't seen it. I don't need to show you that. The syllabus, in the modules, I have a module called syllabus, and everything is broken out. However, some students like to print out the syllabus, so they have a printable course syllabus here. Then they have the course summary, and these are basically, these are just the classes. But then here this is an assignment. If it's a calendar icon, that's the class. That's the scheduled class via Zoom. If it has this little assignment icon, this is an assignment with a due date. Okay? So this has the entire semester, right? Then at the very bottom, let me see if I could get down here. These right here, they look like assignments. What those are is that's their participation grade. That's basically based on them participating in the Zoom classes. So that's what they have there. And of course, if I go back up, they have a basic explanation of their grades, and their grades will pop up here to hopefully keep them on track with their grades. Now the modules is broken out. Basic information. This was a link for the Zoom classes. I do this so that they have one link that is good for every single class throughout the entire semester. But of course, they can also go to, if I have it open over here, they could go to the Zoom link over here and get into the classes that way. I have my course description, learning goals, course materials, about Canvas, right? All of this I showed you during the conference. Now, what I really want to show you real quick, I'm going to take you through one module, and I chose module 4, Módulo 4. So here is the routine and plans, and I'm going to leave the student view. By the way, one nice thing about using Screencast-O-Matic, as I was leaving the student view, and then I had to collapse the modules, and then open up number 4, that took a lot of time. And instead of you sitting there waiting, I will go back and edit that out, and it'll be an immediate transition, and you'll see it transitions smoothly because there's a long pause, and when I go back, it'll show that pause, and I could just cut from the beginning and end of that pause. With Zoom, you could only edit the very beginning of the video or the very end. But in Screencast-O-Matic, you could edit throughout the video, so that's nice. So here's a typical module, and this again is for my beginning Spanish classes. I always have these actividades adicionales. These are those, they're little activities that came with the textbook. And oops, I don't want to open, sorry. So there are activities that came with the textbook, and some of these we do in class, others I use as extra credit. Let me find one. I know I have one coming up. Oh, here. Okay, so this one was extra credit for 5 points, and I use that just to make up participation points. It doesn't go towards the assignment grade, it's just for participation. So if they come to a class late, leave early, absent, they can use these to make up that stuff. This, for example, this first activity is a lot of fun. This used to be a 20 questions activity, but I changed it to a búsqueda de tesoros. And we did this. I've done this a few times now with my students, and they love it. We actually do a treasure hunt because I'm taking advantage of the fact that they're in their home. So we're in the Zoom class together, and I say, okay, you guys get ready. We're gonna go on a treasure hunt in Spanish, of course. And I say, okay, show me soap. And they go run to their house, to their bathroom, and they come back, and everybody has to hold up their soap. And then I say, okay, is everybody ready? I'm going to take a picture with my cell phone. I take a picture or a screenshot, and then they get a certain amount of, I think I give them 2 points of extra credit for each item they find. And it's a lot of fun. Okay. So that's the actividades adicionales. And then the way my modules are split out is first I have the Connect Online Workbook, and it's always divided in 3 parts, 1, 2, and 3, each chapter the same way. And they're always due on the day of the corresponding exam. Okay, and I show how many points each one is worth. They typically end up being between 300 to 400 points total, all three parts. Then I have here practice. And notice that here, this is the work that's due for points. And then over here, I indented a little bit because I'm showing them this is practice. There's no points required here. And these are my grammar. So one thing I want to show you here. So this is for preferences and wants. And I explained the difference between preferir and querer, and that these are verb combinations, which the first verb is always conjugated, second verb infinitive. I give them some examples in English. I remind them that these are spelling change verbs, that they basically form a boot. I give them more examples in Spanish with the English translation. Here's the table for querer, more examples. Now, and then at the end, it says ignore the links, previous and next below. These two links are automatic with every module. But for this class, it doesn't make sense to do previous and next. I'll explain more in a minute. What's important here is that because I will be using this page, I will be going over this page with my students in our class. So I want to leave more of that white space. This is that white space, right? I want to leave more white space. I don't have a bunch of pictures or photos in here. It's more simple. And I don't go over every single thing with them. I usually go over the initial explanation and maybe the conjugations, and then I tell them you could look at the examples on your own. So keep in mind what a grammar page looks like for my beginning Spanish class. So after the practice, well, actually part of the practice, first we have the hojas. These are the pages. These are the grammar explanations. Then I have presentaciones. These are PowerPoints. And these are a bunch of different PowerPoints that go with what I'm teaching. And sometimes I don't use every single PowerPoint, but they have them there that they could use for extra practice. I also have a ton of links, enlaces, for whichever country is the focus of that chapter. And then finally, I have the extra credit and puntos de participación. These are to make up participation points. Notice, so here the practice is, it's kind of tough to see, but this is one indent over. And here we have 2 indents over. Okay. Actually, I think this is 1, this is 2, and down here this is 3. So I do whatever is due for points up front, then you got your practice, and then finally your extra credit. And this is how every single chapter is broken out. It's always the same format, every single one. Then coming down here, I have my essays. I give them 5 steps for good writing. Here it makes sense to do the next and previous. Here I do 5 steps for good writing. I also send them to a link explaining MLA format. Now I could hit next. I give them transitional words to help them with their writing. You could hit next. I do a brainstorming because when I assign an essay, they have to give me 3 parts. They have to give me brainstorming, then they have to give me a rough draft, edited. They'll print out their rough draft and then edit it in a pen, a colored pen, and then they have to give me their final draft because that's how I can make sure they are actually writing their essays and they're not just using Google Translate. That's the way I like to do it. Then, sorry. Then they have their actual essay, and this was very small. It's just a description about myself. I explained to them the progress of their work, right? That I want to see a brainstorming activity, a rough draft, and the final draft. I also remind them of MLA format. Now, these are general comments, and because they're the same comments semester after semester after semester, what I do here, I'm going to have to step back. What I do here, these are the general comments. I will uncheck them, unpublish them while they are writing the essay, right? Once they've written their essays and I've given them back their corrections and comments, I will open this up. So basically, I will go over the general comments so that these are the mistakes everybody makes. And I go over the general comments with everyone, and then they also have specific comments on their essays. One other thing I started to do last semester, I don't have it here, but I also, once I've graded their essays, I have written a sample essay so that they could look at it and see, okay, well, this is what a well-written essay would have looked like. And again, I hide it until they've already received their grades and it's finalized. So after the essays, I have their exams. And what I do is these will be locked until the day. No, actually, they're not locked. What I do is that I open this up, and there's always a big blue brain. That's what we have on the exam days. And in Zoom, this big blue brain will be my virtual background. This is the link to the exam. But over here, I have all of the policies and all of the grading and suggestions, etc. And I make sure to review for probably the first two exams. I review these policies with them, but then they're on their own. And I remind them about any suspicions of cheating will be reported to the dean of students, etc., etc. So these are their exams. Oh, and so for example, even the final exam is here. Now this page is available to them the entire semester. They could come in here and they could look at the policies for the final exam. However, if they go to open this link, this is the link to the final exam, it's locked. It's locked until the day of the exam. So I leave the policies open for them to view in advance, but the actual exams are locked. Then I have another, this is just additional grammar help, how to use definite, indefinite articles, accent marks, divisions of syllables, a summary of pronouns, etc. These are little things I do to help them, but they're optional, okay? Students can come to those if they want to see them. Now, the one thing, look at this for the modules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 modules for only what is important for the class. Then I have all of these, those are those web links, remember? About art and celebrations, food, etc. Argentina, Colombia, all the way down to Venezuela. Well, this is too many modules. It gets too overwhelming for my students. And I've had it like this for years and have looked for many, many options. How, is there a way to set up a separate modules page? And there's not. I've talked to Canvas help many times and no, there's no way to set up another modules page. So, what's the solution? I found it just a few days ago and I'm so excited. So, and let me go back up here. If we go to Student View, the very last link over here are enlaces interesantes. I'll actually probably change this to English for my beginning Spanish one, to interesting links, optional. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know why, when I'm in Student View, this doesn't work. So I'm going to go ahead and leave Student View. And now I'm going to show you. And by the way, I used that wonderful redirect tool that Denise explained to all of us in the discussion during the conference. And I created this. And if I click on it, it does this. How beautiful is that? And I just started doing this a few days ago. So look at this. I've got an art collection. These are my art collections. I've got paintings by Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera, Zoraida Martinez, Fernando Botero, Casimiro Gonzalez. I could add a ton. And these are simply links to the internet. It'll take them to this page. So if I go here to my favorite images, and it always shows up here whatever is the last items I've added. And now down here I have a bunch of food. Well, over here in food, right now I only have one item. So all I do is I come here and I hit select. And I click on all of these items. And I say move to food. And now food has 5 items, right? I could do even more. Oh, panes dulces, mate. Qué rico. There we go. So now all of my items are in my folders. And here it says add items to this collection. You could start a new collection over here. So for example, I do want to start a new collection. I'm going to say lugares, places. There it is. Now it says start a new search. But what I found, what's even easier, is if I just go to Google and I'm going to click up here to images. Oh, there we go. My favorite place. Oh, wow. Look at how beautiful this is. All these beautiful pictures of Parque Güell. Love it. And I could choose whichever one I like the best. And I actually like this one. I think that's spectacular. So all I do, I need to move myself right now, where these 3 little dots, I hit that. Excuse me, I'm going to move myself over again. These 3 little dots, I'm just going to click on the bookmark. Now I want to look at another one. How about Las Cataratas Iguazú? Oh, spectacular again. I love this. Oh, I like this one. It's got the rainbow in it. So I click over here, add. When I go back, I'm going to refresh my page. It didn't do it. Oh, yes, it did. Here we go. So now I've got these new last items entered. If I go to favorite images, there they are. So I could select them. I just select them like this and I move them to lugares. And there I go. So this is a wonderful way to, I'm going to So this is a wonderful way to be able to I'm going to now take all of these different links that I've collected through the years, and I'm going to transfer them to my Google collections. And then I'm going to be able to delete these modules, and it will simplify the modules page for my students and make it less overwhelming for them. So I think that's a great way to organize some of those other extra pieces of information. It would also be good. I haven't tried it yet with videos. I assume it'll be the exact same thing. But I know, for example, somebody brought up during the conference, their campus tells them not to post YouTube videos on Canvas. Well, you could probably add links to YouTube videos in your Google collections and recommend your students to go there. Okay? So that was the new thing I learned that I was very excited to share with all of you. And I'm going to go right back to student view. So here we are, right? Home, announcements, syllabus, modules, the discussions. I always have a Q&A discussion, the student lounge for students where they can share whatever they find interesting. I have Música Favorita. I post a ton of my favorite videos. And then they can come down here and hit reply, and they can post their own video if they'd like. Some classes love to participate in this sort of thing and share their favorite singers. Other classes aren't so interested. I have the people. And why this is important, it only shows right now because I'm the pretend student for this, but it shows all of the students, and then that way they could use the inbox to contact whoever in the class if they need help or they want to have a study buddy, that kind of thing. Then their grades, of course, and then these enlaces interesantes. So this is my beginning Spanish 1 course. Now we are going to come over here. Actually, I'll go back to the dashboard. Oh, I know why it's doing that. I'm going to leave the student view. And now we're going to go here to my intermediate Spanish 1. And this is my asynchronous class. Okay, I'll go ahead and hit student view again. So the announcements, when I moved this course over to Instructure, right? Instructure, I had to delete a lot of the information. So this is just, I created 2 little generic announcements. But you could see, again, I have Parque Güell. Basically, it's exact same information as my other homepage. Then they get their announcements, syllabus. There's, same thing. But mind you, here, these are all assignments. There are no calendar dates because we don't have Zoom classes. They have their weights. They have their assignments. I'm going to move down to discussions real quick. Same thing, student lounge, question and answers, música favorita, cosas chistosas. Then we have these, I do assign 2 discussions. The first discussion, and this is also, I assign this discussion for my beginning Spanish 1 class. It is Mi Camino con el Español, my journey with Spanish. They all get to see the PowerPoint about how Spanish changed my life, and then I ask them to tell us where they are in their journey. I give them 2 options. They can either record themselves, which I suggest because it's a great way for the students to get to know each other, or they can write. If they record, I ask for 2 to 3 minutes. If they write, I ask for 1 to 2 paragraphs. And for the intermediate class, I give them the option of English or Spanish, because this is just a very first discussion to try and build our learning community. For beginning Spanish, of course, it's all in English. And then the first part, what they're going to share, their recording or their paragraph, that's due on a Wednesday. And then they have to have a peer reply. They have to reply to 2 to 3 peers, and that's always due by Saturday. So the initial post is 15 points, the peer reply is 15 points, and I explained to them that the peer reply needs to be thoughtful commentary, not just a like or, hey, that's cool, right? So this is a way, and I say, this is a way, it's an opportunity for us to get to know each other. This is extremely, extremely important in those asynchronous classes. So those are the discussions. This is what it would look like to the student. It'll have all the different students that are in class right here. But you could also create groups. Because this is the template and I haven't created any groups yet, this is what it looks like. But I'm going to leave the student view. And you can use these groups to make paired work or group work or what have you. I'm going to move myself over. And all you do is you create a group set. And I use these groups for those recordable video chat activities I told you about during the conference. Those are the ones through Connect. So I've got 1.01. And then I'm going to split the groups into students of 2. And then I hit save. Now, this isn't doing anything right now because there are no students. But if I had 20 students, all of a sudden it would appear 10 groups split out into 2s. And so I create those groups here, and that's a good way to get them working together. I'm going to go back to my student view. So lastly, they have their grades, and then again, those enlaces interesantes that you saw previously. Now, the really big difference, though, between synchronous and asynchronous are the modules. Course syllabus, broken out, and this is all in English, of course. All the policies are in English. Then we have an orientation module. Now notice the difference in the organization. With my beginning Spanish course, it was the assignments that are due, the practice, which included the grammar pages, PowerPoints, and links, and then the extra credit. That's how they were divided. For the asynchronous class, it goes completely in order. The presentaciones, these are the introductions, 0.01 about our class, 0.02 about your instructor. This is an assignment, 0.03, My Journey with Spanish. Then I've broken out, and remember, we're still in the orientation module. Then I've broken out to help, resources, 0.04, student resources, technical support, the mobile app for Canvas, student readiness tutorials, a quiz that they must take, that self-check quiz, and I let them know if they do not take this, they could be dropped from the class. And then there's a wrap-up. We will see that in the asynchronous modules, there's always a beginning, there's always an overview, and then a wrap-up. And I'm going to show you that in a different module. But so these first 2 modules, the syllabus and the orientation, they have to complete these 2 the first week of school. Second week of school, they start in on the chapters. Okay, and I actually want to take us down again to chapter 4, Módulo 4, and I want to take you through this module. So, start here, and I have the beginning of the starting line of a race. Notice right away, I get a picture in there, because with the asynchronous, I'm not going through this with them. You need to stimulate their senses visually. So there's a lot more use of photos and pictures, less white space, as you would see in the beginning Spanish 1. So we always start off, I have an introduction that explains a little bit about this chapter, and then what you will learn and what you will do. That's every chapter begins the same way. And I have always done this first thing in English, but I might change that for my intermediate class. I haven't decided yet. This is where it does make sense to hit next. So now we go on to 4.01. This is one of those recordable video chat activities, and it's not due. I always give them a week and a half to 2 weeks head start because they're working with another student. So they need time to coordinate so that they both have to go to Connect at the exact same time and do this discussion. So I always assign it well in advance. Again, a picture that demonstrates what the assignment is going to be about. This one is about family. Family, the most important element in society. Here, everything is in Spanish. Pretty much everything is in Spanish. Occasionally, I will put something in English if it's extremely important. Okay, and then I give them some pages in the textbook that they should review before they do their assignment, and then the policies are in English. So next we have Grammar 4.02. This is for imperatives, formal commands. Again, you've got to use your pictures. I explain a little bit about the formal commands. I give them the forms. I show them all of the irregulars, how to deal with pronouns. And then down here, I have a tutorial video in English. And this is, I created this through Screencast-O-Matic. And this, I basically explain their book, the grammar as it is in their book. I just take them through it. And then at the end, you say the next thing, after reviewing all of this, the next thing they're going to do is they're going to review these pages in their book, and they're going to practice these activities, and then they need to finish their Connect assignments for these points. So after that, After that, I have a quiz, 4.03, and it is a quiz on formal commands. I give them 3 attempts. The quizzes are pretty basic. They're usually 5 questions. And there's no time limit. Okay. Hit next. Then we have a reading assignment based on the function of the extended Hispanic family. So again, more photos, some information, the instructions. I love this photo, mama, papa, right? And then they have a rubric down here to explain the grading. Now, the one thing is that for this activity, this is lectura cultural, a cultural activity, and these tend to be shorter. They're usually 3 to 4 paragraphs long. And the answers to the questions, right? These are the questions. These answers are actually posted in the appendix, in the answer key of the back of the text. So what I do is to give them an opportunity not only to practice reading comprehension, but since they have the answers, they get to practice speaking. So I told them this is not just reading, it is to speak Spanish as well. What they're going to do is they're going to come here to start the assignment and record or upload media. they're going to record themselves telling me about this reading, telling me as if we were having a conversation in class. They're going to tell me about this reading and answer the questions. And this is a great way for them to practice their speaking skills. I'm going to leave the student view and the speed grader, and I have permission from this particular student. I am going to take you to Natalie, a wonderful student.
Número 1. Cuando se habla de la familia extendida, esto no quiero decir necesariamente que varias generaciones.
Okay, so, and I do ask them to try not to just read their answers, but to more talk to me like a conversation, but it doesn't always work that way. The nice thing is, however, is I can help her with a little bit of her pronunciation, right? I could talk to her about, she had a great observation. She compared something to like water for chocolate, and I love that observation. And these are written comments, but down here I recorded some comments and I talked to her directly. Now, sometimes I will, it depends when I grade. If it's during the day and I'm prepared, I'll make a video. If it's late at night, I'll probably just do a voice recording. But this is one of the key, most important things with asynchronous courses. You need to create that instructor presence. So you want to use a variety of ways to grade. And when you grade, you want to use that grading, those comments, to connect with your students. So this is that reading assignment, reading and speaking assignment, and they have their rubric down here. Next, we have another grammar, and this is the subjunctive mood, both the concept, the forms, and uses and clauses. And so showing emotion, excitement, right? Frustration, enthusiasm, what have you. I explain, I give them some examples here, the charts. Another tutorial, and this one I actually did too. This I went through and explained the grammar out of the textbook. This was more of a personal. I talked to them about the subjunctive because the subjunctive tends to be very confusing for non-native speakers, especially English speakers, because we don't use the subjunctive properly in English, but we use it all the time in Spanish. So I actually did 2 videos for this. And again, the next thing they're going to do, and I remind them to do their connect activities. Then 4.06, more uses of the subjunctive, persuasion, right? So the coach is trying to persuade the referee. We're persuading the boy with some candy, or we could use money to be persuaded, right? I explained to them about persuasion. I have these expressions of persuasion that require the subjunctive form. I have 2 PowerPoints here that also help demonstrate persuasion. And then my tutorial video, and finally what they're going to do next. And then we hit next. Then they have a quiz on the subjunctive, both for emotion as well as persuasion. Next, more grammar. Now these are the imperatives, the commands, but now we're doing the informal commands, right? When mom or dad yells at you, go do this. So here are the forms for the to form, some irregulars, the opposite endings, etc., etc. And again, I have some additional help in the form of, this is a table that I created with commands, and here are other commands as well, a video tutorial, and what they're going to do next. Then they have a quiz on commands. This, un poco de todo, is a section in the textbook that deals with words between Spanish and English. And I always say that in Spanish, the words are a little bit more precise, right? So in English, we say to support, but in Spanish, we have soportar, mantener, apoyar, sostener. In English, we just say support, 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 but these words have different uses and different meanings. Now, every time they get to the un poco de todo section, it's always this dictionary here, picture. And it kind of gives some unity to it. This talks about the word close or to care for. Again, what they're going to do next. Every page always tells them what they're going to do next. It's just a brief explanation. Then they hit next. Then they have another reading assignment. Now this one is Del Mundo Hispano, from the Hispanic world. And these reading assignments typically are longer. Now this one was just a short poem by Amado Nervo. But this is a strictly reading and then written assignment. And I have the questions here. ¿Quién es la voz poética? Who's the poetic voice? Which event motivated the writer to write the poem, etc., etc. And they have to write, so here I'm going to use the speed grader and I'm going to show you the answers of that same student, Natalie, and she copied over the questions and then she writes her answer. And the answers need to be between 1 to 3 sentences. It depends on the question. And I don't grade these for grammar and punctuation and all of that. It's more based on ideas, okay? And I could write a comment here, or again, I can record comments, record a video, what have you. So that is another reading assignment. There's the rubric. Once the assignment is completed and everybody has submitted it or it's passed, I accept late work to a point. They lose 5% per day. So after 10 days, let's say, it's not worth submitting because it's going to be an F. So once that date has passed, I actually post answers. My answers. And I explain to them that these are possible correct answers. And then that way they could compare their answers to mine and get an idea of what I was looking for with that assignment. So we're going to hit, and this page is hidden until I'm ready for them to see it. Hit next. Now they have their Connect assignments, and these are all from the workbook, the online workbook. This is their grammar that they're going to be practicing. And again, usually it's around 300 points, somewhere around there often. I explained to them it's going to take them approximately 3 to 5 hours per chapter. There is no time limit. They have unlimited attempts, but on the due date, Connect will submit it for them. I also recommend that if they have any questions, to post them in the Q&A. And then that way I can respond to the question for everybody all at once. They have also these Learn Smart grammar activities. Learn Smart is an adaptive program through Connect. They're actually changing it to another program, but it's adaptive so that if somebody's struggling, it makes the questions a little easier until they feel more solid. If they're doing really well, it makes the questions a little harder to challenge them. So they have their Learn Smart grammar, their Learn Smart vocabulary, and that's all of this is due on the day of the exam. And then they have their exam. The brain here is missing, but the big blue brain would be here normally. And same thing, all of these policies are available to them throughout the semester, but the link is locked. If they follow this link to connect, Connect will say the exam is locked. So that's their exam, and then the wrap-up. So we started with the opener at the starting line of the race, and now we're at the end of the Boston Marathon. And it is what you learned, what you did, and what you will be doing next. And this is intended to give them a sense of accomplishment, right? This is what I learned. This is what I did. They accomplished something. And this is what's coming up. I also offer them some extra credit, and these are different videos that they could watch. This is called El Abrazo Partido, and I give them the trailer on YouTube, but they would have to rent it either through Netflix or something like that. And again, these points are actually intended to make up assignments. And there's their rubric. Now it'll take them to chapter 5. And so see, we start all over again, 5.00. So you can see the sequence. We start at 4.00, everything 4.01, 0.02, 0.03, etc., etc. By the way, I discovered that you have to do that 0001. Otherwise, it screws up the numbers once you get to 10. Just trust me. And it takes them from the overview all the way down to the wrap-up. And another difference, as you could see, the exams are in the modules, whereas with the beginning Spanish class, the exams were in one separate module. So this is basically how the two types of classes look. And again, I used to have a whole bunch of modules down here with those links, but now I've created that wonderful redirect link that will take them out to my Google Collections. So there's the Google Collections. It's a way to share your links, and it's much more vibrant than having a list of modules. So I think that's about it. I need to go edit this video now and then send it off for closed captioning, and then I will edit the closed captioning. But hopefully something will be useful to you. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And Feliz Año Nuevo! Happy New Year to everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful spring semester. Adios.